Hi, welcome to Fine Tooth Combs, the podcast where we watch the filmography of Jeffrey Combs in order, for reasons that escape me. My name is Jamie, my voice sounds like this.
My name's Bunny, my voice sounds like this.
I'm Jake, my voice sounds like this.
And I'm Ian, and my voice sounds like this.
And we have a special guest here, our friend Ian, who's sort of a major fan of the film we watched today, which was Bride of Re-Animator, 1989. Is that right?
Yeah.
We're almost breaking the 90s when it comes to the film.
Well, IMDb says 90, actually.
IMDb says 90, but
Yeah.
how do you know it's 89?
Because it was probably made in 89.
Oh, okay, so we're going by made.
I think we need to decide, is it release date or made?
And
We've been going
release
release
is
date,
when
I
it's
think.
the world's, right?
Yeah.
Before that, it's not really out.
It's a decade spanner.
Conversation for another podcast.
All right.
89.90.
89.90. So we're getting there. Let's just sort of skip the previous minutes. Nothing really happens with those. Let's go into the recipe. So how did we catastrophically change our blood sugar today?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so today we had cinnamon roll cookie bars. The website that I got it from, I'm actually just looking it up. But the baker sort of was like, why mess around with yeast when you can get straight to the goods and make sure that it turns out? And now my phone is frozen, so I can't get to what I want. It's fine. Basically what we've got going on here is one of those nice like Women's World Weekly type recipes where it says it's a recipe, but you're mostly just assembling packaged goods.
Oh, yeah.
So this was a white cake. I wanted a vanilla cake. I just threw in some vanilla extract to make up for the fact that it was a white cake. With a box of cook and serve vanilla pudding. You're not cooking and serving it. You're throwing that dry into the mix.
There was pudding thrown into the cake mix?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that would account for part of the spike in your blood sugar.
Well, that was pretty sweet, but it was one on top of it that nearly killed
Right,
us.
so then the topping is a brick of cream cheese with, let's count them here, not one, not two, no folks, not even three, not four,
Oh my god.
5 cups.
5 cups of icing sugar?
Really?
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
So it's no wonder that the back of my mouth sort of ached while I was eating it. And you get that sort of feeling.
First couple of bites, like it was really tasty. I liked it.
Yeah.
But even as I was making it, I was like, 5 cups? I would make this again, but I would not use 5 cups of icing sugar. Like maybe 2.5, 3. Like I get that you want to have enough icing to cover the cake.
But it doesn't need to be that thick either.
That's
Like,
just it.
Small layer.
I used a 9x13 like she asked for, and you could have done with like half the sugar, maybe even a third.
No, God, yes, but it was still really good.
It was still really good. I think it was from, again, the phone stopped as soon as I went to go look for it. I want to say it's cupcakes or cookies and bars or cupcakes and cookies. I'll find out for the next podcast or later on in this episode.
Okay.
Her recipes are quite good. I feel like I've done another one of hers before, and it turned out okay. It's escaping me what it was. Oh, here it is. All the sugar things I have to make.
So much detail.
So much detail. What was it? The cinnamon bars? Here we go. Cookiesandcups.com. It's self-explanatory. Cookies and cups. Google it.
Okay.
She mostly focuses on cookies and cups, cupcakes.
Interesting name.
Yeah.
Very apt.
So there you go. Just one more nail in the diabetes coffin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that we've over-explained what we ate, we can move on to the comb over. It's for Ian and for new people who aren't listening. This is the part where we go over sort of the plot of the movie and have digressions and errata and estrada
So on and so forth.
what have you. So, Jake, I know Ian knows this film really well, but I like to see if you can walk us through maybe this movie. So, how does this movie start? Does anyone remember?
Oh, it was a little weird. We were going to try to rewatch the beginning because there was some questioning, but I think it was just the fact they needed to move the movie along. They didn't do a very good job of explaining it. So basically we started with a little blurb telling us that Dr. West and his colleague
Dan.
they were in Vietnam, was it? Or
Peru.
In Peru.
Yeah.
During the war, and they were volunteering as surgeons during the war, and basically this allowed them to further their knowledge of life and death. So it's like, and then they are doing their experiments. Basically, soldiers will come in and it's like, oh, this was okay. Well, he just freshly died. Inject him with the rave syrup.
Yeah, the rave syrup.
The rave syrup.
Yeah, he totally brings out, like, remember from the first one, it's the glowing green reagent, as they call it.
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
fucking awesome. But yeah,
And it's back.
As we read in the trivia from the first one, it is just the goo from glow sticks.
Oh, it is
It is-
factually.
it
Okay,
is
I thought you were
factually.
just making.
Yeah,
No, no,
That's just what they just emptied a
Yeah,
bunch of
when we
glow
watched the first one, we looked it up, and that's what they used. So I'm just wondering how much of that stuff they went through.
Well, they
Because-
could probably get
And
like a pail of the part A, and
No, I like to
just
think
add it
that
and
some
mix it in
poor
there,
like
glow.
gopher was sitting in the corner with a pair of dull scissors, having to like snap and cut open glow
I like to
sticks.
think it was Jeffrey. Like, it was so early in his career that part of his contract is that he had to cut off all the tops off the glow sticks.
I wonder if by that point, because they have the whole like barrel full of it, maybe they just made it. You know,
Yeah,
like
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
can you just make? They'd probably just make that stuff. Yeah.
what a new little recipe.
There's no way of knowing.
No way. No, we'll never know. Never know.
So,
Okay.
yeah, and then it kind of mysterious. Okay, during that scene at the very end of the opening scene, they have one woman is telling, like, we gotta go, they're coming, and they're like, oh, we have work to do, and
It's important because this woman, her name is Francesca. They know those two, and she sees what they're doing.
yeah.
And
in Peru.
in Peru, yeah, and they have to fuck off basically. Well, there's
Yeah.
all these explosions and shit's going on.
But the
correct?
army is invading them. They're getting overrun.
So if we're to remember the timeline correctly, they had to run away at the end of the first Re-Animator,
After the stuff at the
Miskatonic University.
yeah, school.
At the school. So they ran away to Peru. They were doing their shit there, and then they run back to a different hospital in Massachusetts, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Actually
not
looks
sure
a
if it's
lot like the
Massachusetts,
same
but-
one.
Yeah.
Well, it was
another
still
hospital.
Miskatonic.
I'm not sure if it was Miskatonic, but it was definitely Arkham at the beginning. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they either go back to the same.
But it doesn't really explain how they get there, because in the one scene they get overrun and they're fighting, and
they return to the same hospital.
then all of a sudden they're just cool.
So I don't even remember why they left the first time. I think they must have left. They weren't run out. They just left because they couldn't. Their experiments couldn't go any farther, so they went.
the
help in the
Oh,
war.
because
Yeah.
I guess they hadn't made the connection in the first one to Herbert West. You know what I mean? Like they run away because
That's
shit's
right.
getting too intense.
Right,
but
right.
they never like connected them to what had happened.
So
Yeah,
they basically stuck with they run away, and now they're here in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
yeah, because
back.
that's how they still
And
have a
they're back.
reputation or
Yeah.
whatever.
God, that was arduous.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So they just got this nice place off the hospital or
no,
campus
it's
or
off the
something.
graveyard, right? Like it's an old
They live
crematorium.
next door to the graveyard.
That's
Yeah,
it, yeah.
it's an old funeral home, a crematorium, and it's been abandoned for years. So they'll be left alone there, and they do all their experiments in the brick basement downstairs. Lots of creepy shit down there. A boiler.
Yeah, so it moves us in.
Boiler
This is
alert.
when it introduces us to Dr. Graves.
Ah, yes.
And they show us Dr. Graves, and they discuss, there's been some weird murders
Yeah, from,
happening.
Pathology. Doctor,
yeah.
what's his first name?
Wilbur.
Dr. Wilbur Graves. Yeah.
Pathology.
That sounds like a Simpsons name.
It really
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to him. And in what context?
Okay, yeah, it just kind of,
he's like in charge of the whole department where all the evidence from the massacre in the first movie ended
Yeah.
up.
and they're discussing how weird it is that they're not decomposing, and they brought the
after
head
8
in.
months.
After 8 months, and how do we know? Like, how do they display to us that we know this is the stuff
Oh my
from the
God.
previous movie?
It's
Like,
police tape. Do not cross police tape on like the shittiest wooden shelves.
It just
Like
some
it's
random
supposed to be
cellar
a
closet.
freezer too, so like
how do we
Yeah.
know it's a freezer though?
Because there's like little bits of
Frost.
snow, but it's snow.
Yeah.
It's like how they keep this place cold is they bring in a snow machine.
Yeah, yeah.
And turn it on full blast like every couple days. So there's like snow on top of things. Or
It's-
coconut chips.
It looks like potato flakes or something.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be cold, but there's no breath. Or anyways, it's
Yeah.
a freezer with
And
police tape.
things seem to be in bags that are like tied at the
They're-
top,
Yeah.
not zipped or
Yeah, there's like
you know,
blood
it's like a
everywhere.
knot.
The whole it's just
Things in
haphazard.
bins.
It's a mess. And
It looks like the like a fridge to a really shitty kitchen on like Kitchen Nightmares or something.
Yeah.
You know where they're gonna shut it down. There's like things half in buckets, half out, just hands lying around.
that would be how they used to store all these types expensive things prior to electricity.
Ah.
Before they had a great invention of
like nice
refrigeration.
organized.
With no
Yeah.
electricity.
So it's like finding this little backwoods doctor shop out in the boonies that
Doctor shop.
has no. Oh, this is just where we keep our parts.
The hospital is in Massachusetts, but the morgue is still in Peru.
Oh, yeah, you never know. There's a lot of more. This is an interesting possibility.
Fridge, yeah.
So they're not decomposing because of his.
They find it weird, and Dr.
Right,
Graves is
yeah.
explaining to the lieutenant who just brought in that head. Remember the big lieutenant? He brings in the head.
The big
He's
fat
like,
cop.
we just found this. It's been 8 months. He's like, yeah, come look at all the same thing. All these other ones you brought me aren't decomposing either. This is so weird.
Yeah.
So they discuss it for a bit, and then of course, it's later on. Then they go cut back to Dr. West, I believe, and Dan.
Doing more experiments. There's a lot of that going on. A lot of this movie is West doing creepy shit with his reagent, and Dan sort of begrudgingly helping him, right?
Yeah, he wants to quit. Obviously, he's supposed to be the moral one, but yet he's.
Well,
He
but
talks a big talk, but he's into it.
and he wants to put the heart of his dead girlfriend in the
Meg
new
from
body.
first
Well, that's
So
how
he has that romantic interest.
that's how he gets him going later on. But for the most part, he's just sort of in the original stories too. This guy is just who's telling this tale is just sort of drawn to West's brilliance, even though he knows he's evil and wicked. His curiosity and his own sort of impulses can't stop him from helping West. But he seems much more belligerent and pissed off in this one for the most part, and West just sort of keeps convincing him. And they're doing weirder and weirder shit with the body parts, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the little,
the fingers and the eyeball.
there's the finger creature, with the
But a
eyeball.
lot of times it's like Herbert West is just doing this stuff in front of Dan. Like,
Yeah, he's just
it's
a
not
passive
even
observer.
like he convinces Dan. It's just like, well, you're already involved because you're here while I'm
You're here letting me do it.
doing it.
Yeah.
And because that happens so many times of them going back to the basement and doing another crazy thing, attaching something that shouldn't attach to that thing, I lose track of where that happened in the movie.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of my
That's a couple of times.
my critique of it. Although not to get ahead of ourselves, I did see why it was all happening kind of at the end. But there's just so many scenes of the guy with the nice hair standing there watching our man Jeffrey attach some weird combination. Like, look, I can put a foot belonging to, I'm assuming, a lady, to the arm and hand of a man with a piece of metal through the bone. Or, oh, look, I can make fingers and an eyeball go together. Like, just over and over. Look at all the fucked up combinations I can make. And Buddy's like, oh, that's creepy, but...
Well, again, but I see you want to get that across for like the plots for what happens later in the movie. So how would you do that without continuously going back to that scene? Do you do it
Montage.
do you do it in a montage?
Do it in a montage. Or, like, maybe he comes... Okay, so Buddy with the nice hair comes in and he's like...
Dan Kane. His name is Dr.
Buddy
he
with
did
the-
not go to medical school to
Dr.
be called
Buddy Nice
the guy
Hair.
with the nice hair.
Dr. Buddy Nice Hair.
The beach hair.
He could totally have, like, walked in at some point. Like, so maybe we see Jeffrey make one of the creatures. Okay, we put it together. I add the rave juice. It works. And then at a later date, he comes in and there's maybe several creatures now scuttling around the office. So giving the idea that he's been up to no good. You know.
Well, I think they've done a couple passage of time scenes, like where the love scene between him and Francesca.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of did a quick cut to Jeffrey still working down in the basement doing
true.
stuff by himself.
Yeah.
So he's constantly down there pumping out creatures and different
Yeah.
ideas and bricking them up.
And breaking them up.
And he's Amontillado casting those fuckers right there, like, putting them in the wall.
Yeah, it's we learned that he's right beside some crypt, so all his mistakes he just bricks up into that crypt, and it's a reference to quite a few Lovecraft tales, or at least a trope in those type of horror.
Edgar Allan Poe, kind of.
Yeah, was it the Black Cat?
Telltale Heart?
Yeah, Telltale Heart is below
Yeah.
the floorboards, but totally,
Yeah.
the Black Cat and the Rats on the Walls for Lovecraft.
Or or bricking up in the cask of Amontillado.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting them right in there, mortaring them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where were we in the plot?
Okay, so because
that was it. It's
this kind of cuts
confusing.
over now. It goes with the lieutenant for a bit. It focuses on him. He gets it in, like, how they make this connection again, it's a little bit loose. It's like, okay, he brings in the head. Him and Hall over the fact that they're not decomposing. He's obviously got something out for Dr. West. He hates him. He wants to take him down. But then he makes this connection.
Well, he's still trying to figure out what happened.
Because there's body parts.
Movie,
Because there's body parts. He's noticing that not only decomposing, but there's body parts missing from the morgue now as well.
So he goes to have a chat.
He's curious that this is still going on, and that our man Jeffrey is a connecting factor to these things.
Yeah, so he goes on a bit of a manhunt to just like trap him or something. I mean, he's very pushy. We made
he shows up and forces himself
he just walks
around
in
the house.
Yeah, he's very alpha. He does just walk around the house. No warrants, no nothing. Where's your due process, right? This isn't a... we have rights.
Well, it was filmed in America.
And 1989, though. Was it different then? Did we not have rights? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't think people were allowed to vote yet.
Oh, that was a lot. Yeah, that's
people in general.
People in general.
Yeah.
Phones had cords. It was a different time.
Oh, phones had cords.
Yes.
Well, because Herbert and Dan are his prime suspects.
Yep.
So
does he go straight over to their house and walk, and does he corner somebody? And
no, he watches them take that girl's body when they pull her out in the wheelchair, holding her head.
I forgot about that scene.
Oh, you mean the Tilda?
Put the sunglasses on, and then
so they need more corpses. Dan,
and he's in the bushes eating a chocolate bar.
Yes, or taking a piss or
Dan is
something.
always chewing too.
Yes, yeah. There's always. I forgot to mention. Not only is Dan helping Herbert, but he's tending to a girl who's very, very sick.
Right.
It's not
because
Meg.
he is a doctor.
Dan was with Meg from the first movie, and he's very sad about her. But there's another girl that he's been treating for a while. I don't remember her name.
I'd forgotten about her till the end of the movie.
But she's very, very. What is her name?
He was passionate about
Gloria. Gloria.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's. I don't know what she's got. Lots of tubes in her. That's what I remember.
Bad eyeshadow.
Bad eyeshadow.
And he makes a joke about like, oh, I see you even wore some makeup for me.
Really?
Something like that. And yeah, she was like, oh.
So that's not only is he tortured by what's going on with Wes, but he has a girl who's very sick that he's grown very close to.
Yeah.
That's a
with his
being
penis.
a professional.
yes.
I'm making
Doctor.
this
Yeah,
motion.
he's got great abs. Can we just comment on that for a second?
Yes.
There are a few scenes where this man takes off his shirt and he makes me hate myself, like in a physical sense. This man has a
triangular shape too, like.
yes, like
He is
like,
cut. He is a David. He's
I believe
like
the
Justice League.
the
Yeah,
correct
Adonis.
terminology is cum gutters, I believe is what abs like a ninja turtle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Ninja Turtles have shells.
I know, but they have abs.
They were totally cut too.
No,
The course.
He-Man maybe out.
He-Man. Okay.
Yeah.
I amend that. Abs like He-Man. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
So they're stealing corpses. It has this hilarious scene where they bring obviously a corpse on a wheelchair, and Jeffrey is holding her hair, pulling it, and they put the sunglasses on. As Bonnie says, with her complexion and her everything, she looks like Tilda Swinton. But there's some various obvious scenes where she falls over, the sunglasses fall off, we see that she's dead, and the cop, the lieutenant is eating or something. It's like, that's weird.
In the bushes.
Yeah,
and he's watching them like a hawk. So
Yeah, like
they
that looks like something's going on.
yeah, they're taking a corpse somewhere.
So at one point, the girl that they saw in Peru that they knew comes
That's
to,
right then and
comes
there,
to Miskatonic University.
Yeah.
Her name is Francesca,
Yes.
and she right at that point
She used to sleep with Dan in Peru. That's what
Dan gets around, is what you're saying.
Dan.
Did he? No, did they in Peru?
I think they were. There was definitely something. As soon as they
hooked
came
up
back
when-
together in that scene, like there was something going on.
So, who thinks they were hooking up before, and who thinks they were hooking up after?
I think they hooked
Before.
up.
Can you hear
in
my
the
hand?
States.
It's up in the
Yeah.
air.
Yeah. We're raising our hands.
I'm gonna have to go with after, so we're split. We needed another person. This is why we never. You know.
Why else would she come up to see him?
Oh.
No, there was a job-related thing.
They just both happened to be
why
in
would she look him up?
Miskatonic.
It's a small world, man.
You know, she doesn't need a man in order to justify her decisions.
think
She was
does.
she was chasing tail. She needed some more of that beach hair.
So the
abs.
hot tomato from Peru comes to Miskatonic University.
Who's Italian?
Who is Italian?
Peruvian.
Yeah, she's Italian in the movie too. You're right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and Italian actress. And I don't remember what happens. They eye fuck each other for a little bit. And
And then she invites herself over for dinner.
No, this is
when
This is when Combs gives that perfect line, like, think with your little head, or with your big head, not with your little, or keep your little head out of your big head, or something like that.
Something like that.
A dick joke.
A dick joke.
It's
Great. It lands. We all laughed.
And it was so good we can't remember it.
I know. Boy, you don't. Yeah. What
So something for dinner. They, you're saying.
Yeah, they're working in the basement. Like later on, Dan and Herbert
doing more
and
shit.
She shows up with a bag of groceries and wants to cook dinner with her dog. Yeah, like the whole dog thing happens then.
Yeah, she has a little dog that comes with her.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Yeah,
It's like
I'd scrub
Oh
that.
no, but the dog thing happens after.
Happens
Well,
later.
she has a rescue dog. that she
Well,
brought
dinner
with her.
then
getting
sex
ahead.
is about to happen. That's what.
Yeah.
But
So Herbert's in the basement.
He just
doing
stays
his thing.
downstairs.
I'm pretty sure
doing his
before
thing.
she comes, this is the point where they put the female leg and the male hand together.
Look, he does that when he's by himself,
Oh, does
and then
he?
he wrestles it and
Yeah,
puts it in the
and
garbage.
gets choked and kicked.
It kicks him in the face. So yeah, but Jeffrey's doing this thing, and then they're upstairs going straight to the bone zone. Is that what happens? They have dinner and then they have sex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did we almost see nipple? Is that
Yeah.
it was
Close.
side boob, officially only side boob.
Yeah, but it's the most artful
They
side
cleared
boob.
by me,
Like,
so it
yeah,
was very official.
So we have. Let's just get into detail on this. So we have the sheet right over her nipple. Bunny was like, it was so perfect, it looked like it was taped on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. And just as he's moving his hand down, he moves it just over.
Perfect,
So
yeah.
you don't see it. It's like a burlesque dancer. It's just a little tease. Like
Yeah.
you almost see it.
Yeah.
That's
Could have
good.
been a shadow.
That is
Another
good
thing-
filmmaking.
Another thing worth noting, when she showed up at the house with the groceries, Dan's shoes were covered in blood.
Yeah.
And he noticed them. So this is where they start getting a little bit sloppy. Like, I feel that's the point where it starts getting out of control.
Oh, you mean
know,
they're not being as careful?
Yeah, exactly. He goes and answers the door, like,
That's
with
true.
blood on his shoes.
Yeah, the dog is there with them and sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
So then the lieutenant
It's a very
shows
it's an
up.
odd scenario. It's like this type of shit. Like it's weird, but
We also need to cut back to what's happening with Wilbur Graves.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. So
Right.
he's taken that head they found.
Yeah, from the professor from the first movie.
Yeah,
like the doctor professor.
Yeah. that happened-
Dr. Carl Hill.
did that happen just
Yeah.
before dinner? The dinner scene, or was it kind of a during thing?
This is like when the middle gets a little bit too like they're setting everything
They
up,
keep
so
going back and forth.
everything drags a bit.
Yeah, it's a little muddy, but at any
Most of
point,
these movies
it's the
are
original
muddy.
guy. It's David Gale,
Yeah.
who was the beast with the human face from the evil clergyman, and he was in the first Re-Animator movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the guy got his head cut off, it's just his head.
Yeah, which is in the third world morgue.
He has a third world morgue, the freezer with all the potato flakes, and
Yeah.
he takes his head, he takes some of the reagent that he had, and he injects it into.
Well, he's playing with it first. He injects it into a bat.
Oh shit! Yeah.
He was
How about
like
that
he was
bat?
curious about it. He's like, this is the stuff that West had, but what does it do? I don't know. But so he decides to fuck around with it. He has this bat pinned to the table.
which he had been dissecting.
Yeah, a specimen. And he's got the
set
chest
it up
open and
with it.
everything. He's like, okay, it's clearly dead. Gives it a little squirt and
He starts going. It
Yeah.
looks really good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's
It's disturbing.
It's a cool puppet, but then it quickly
Gets out of control.
loses its shit, like
Yeah.
kicking off all the
Goes
pins.
batshit.
Goes
crazy.
batshit.
I
Whoa! And flies around. Does he grab it or do he hold it down? It doesn't end
Well,
up flying.
it flaps up into his face.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh,
he
that's right.
Wrestles with it and like kind
Gets
of
it back down.
pins it down.
And how does he disable it?
cuts one wing off
Oh,
and
with
then
the
cuts
scalpel.
the other wing off?
It's really disturbing, and they're still flapping.
Yeah, it's super.
And there's bone showing, which is good.
Yeah,
Good touch.
really good
Ugh.
effects. Super disturbing, and the camera doesn't flinch, it doesn't cut, and it's gross. It's super gross. It made us all uncomfortable. Ian's seen it a million times. He
You
was
know that it's a
laughing
fake bat, but
gleefully.
you're just like, oh.
Still liked it. Yeah, that's the sign of good effects. Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's well done. And he sees the obvious. This is what happens, and he's like, oh,
So let's try
the
the
head.
head, yeah.
So
So
it's
that's
like,
obviously the next step, right? You reanimate a bat, and then you go right to severed head.
Yeah.
That hasn't been decomposing for months, right?
yeah.
That's
So
What
order
could
of
possibly
operations.
go wrong?
Yeah, that's science 101.
yeah. So he starts with a little bit, and the head starts to moan more. So he gives it the full 9, and now we have an evil head that's trying to demand him. Like, I'm just gonna wake
'cause
up and start
the head
ordering you
has a
around.
recollection of everything that went down.
Yeah.
It remembers.
So,
It remembers
and it
Dr.
has a
Graves.
vendetta.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's got a heavy villain complex. Like, he just seems to think, even as just a head, he can order.
Well, remember from the first movie, that guy is super creepy and rapey anyways.
And his teeth show a lot
Yeah.
when he's talking, especially when he's only the head. So like his whole
lots of
expression.
There's really
comes
blood in
from
the
his
teeth.
face.
Yeah.
And we had the same exact gripe as the first one. He's just a head. How has he got the breath to speak?
Yeah.
I don't like introducing logic into this.
The rave syrup
Rave
really,
juice.
it really did a number. Gave him like pseudo lungs and everything.
Yeah. So
Well, they never really explain what it is, other than like I think at one point he called it the elixir of life.
Well, he
or-
mentions it's very vague,
primordial.
but that life exists in any point of the tissue, any part. So
Yeah.
with his reagent, he can cause that life to come back.
But he calls the goop something like primordial ooze or
Something like that. If
Yeah.
you want consciousness or whatever, you need the brain. But anything, even with conscience or whatever, if it's a part, can be reanimated with the reagent and not decompose, which is very strange. So Gale wants revenge on West, and we cut away to, this is the point with the dinner and the sex, right? And the almost titty.
Oh well,
Yeah.
this is when. Sorry, Combs was working by himself.
Yeah.
He sends that one off the assistant. He's like, "Oh, you got to go over to Graves right now. He wants to see you right now." And the dude comes over, he knocks on the door.
It's
He's
from the
'cause
crematorium.
The chick died in the hospital, so he wanted to take the body.
yeah.
Oh,
And
that's right.
So he sends the intern.
His name is
Yeah.
Ernest.
Ernest, yeah.
He sends Ernest, who works there, who he was going to burn the body.
Yeah.
He takes her
It's like
corpse.
sitting around waiting for the furnace to heat up. He's
Yeah.
reading a magazine, sitting there with the body, waiting for the furnace.
That's right.
That's right. So he sends him over to Graves, and he gets over there, and Graves is acting like a lunatic. He's like, "Look, it can speak, and he's like, "Sure, that's a severed head you got there."
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't speak.
It doesn't say anything, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Here, hold on, no, don't leave. I can show you." So he yells at the head instead of like he demands. Nothing happens.
And Ernest slowly
Yeah.
creeps
Backs
out.
away.
I'm outta
As soon
here.
as he's out of the room,
And he's like, that
It's
was
like,
stupid.
psych.
Yeah.
Now the head's back and says, "Don't you ever do that again. We have a lot of work to do."
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
the head
make,
was like, don't try to do that
don't make
again.
me get somebody else.
It was
Yeah.
like Jamie, you were saying, it was like the frog out of the Warner Brothers cartoons where the
dancing and singing.
construction worker finds the frog all the
Yes.
time and then tries to show it to people and
And he only sings and dances
to
with
that one guy.
Yeah, whenever he shows it to anyone else, it's always ribbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic.
Classic.
Yeah, this movie is sort of goofy.
Yeah.
A lot goofier.
yeah.
Yeah, the way it plays sort of stuff. When the bat attached itself to Dr. Graves' face, I laughed my ass
Oh,
off.
you're getting way ahead.
What?
we already talked about it.
We already talked about that.
Anyway, so
Wait, didn't we?
we have the little scene where now the doctor Graves is kind of a bit of a minion for the head right now. At this point, it's demanding he help him
put
with his
it in
agenda.
a bag and threw it in the garbage.
Oh, that's
and then
right.
we cut to the lieutenant or the
That happened after
detective going to Herbert West's house and forcing himself in.
Yeah, he just
and that's
walks
when
in.
he has to give him that
Well, he forces himself. He just walks
fuel
around,
that
goes into the
simulates
room.
the heart attack.
Yes,
thing
he's
without
basically
leaving
giving him
no
this
trace.
drag that kills him with no evidence.
Yeah.
Essentially, it looks like
So it
natural.
kills him and automatically reanimates him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when he goes crazy, blah blah.
Like
and
they all
rips
do.
The dog's leg out.
Oh, we also did miss a scene.
Oh,
though.
we
There's-
did. We missed it.
No, well, we're missed the scene where he takes the lieutenant takes Francesca or something to the psych ward or so, that special unit.
That's right.
Where all these reanimated bodies are walking around.
That's right. So that's why the lieutenant comes to the house.
And his wife
his
is one of
wife
them,
is
so-
reanimated. So
yeah.
he's convinced
Oh,
that
yeah.
Combs has something to do with it. So there's all these reanimated corpses. He's like, yeah. He's like a couple. A guy makes the craziest sound. A couple of us like, yeah, maybe they mistaken they weren't dead, but I'm sure about this one because it's my wife.
And she was bludgeoned to death, and it was. And
Yeah,
during the scene where the lieutenant goes and forces his way into and sees what's going
They
on,
imply it was
he's
him.
like, that's what West uses against him. He's like, oh, this body was dead. It was bludgeoned to death.
Yeah.
You beat her, didn't
several blows.
He's like, no,
Yeah.
she fell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Classic. You know, just a
you?
wife.
So we realize that the lieutenant really is this piece of shit who's maybe.
So we don't feel so bad when he gets
No.
an instant heart attack via rag. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
kills him instantly and then reanimates him. He goes ape shit.
chops his arm off.
Yeah, he chops his arm off. Yeah.
Who is he going apeshit for? That's right. Like as soon as he comes back,
Oliver and Dan Kane.
But he was going. Was he going for Dan?
Yeah.
And Francesca even eventually came down, but I think that was after
when
the
the
dog.
is
Yeah,
there.
that's when the dog. He takes the dog. He whips this dog puppet around, throws it against the wall.
Well, it doesn't throw it. The arm
rips off,
or
yeah.
the leg rips off, and
Dog
he's,
splats
and he's
on the
standing
wall.
there, and Jake's like, it's hilarious what he does because he keeps holding on to and he's trying to open things.
He's banging the door and stuff with the dog bone.
And he
I need my free hand to get out of this situation, so I'm going to put the dog leg in my mouth.
Yeah, and then
I don't want to put it down yet. And then I'll open the door, and I'm going to keep the dog leg, and we're going to go for it. It's like, what do you need the dog leg
He's
for?
like a toddler, just doesn't want to put it down.
So, yeah, he takes off. Now Francesca's freaking out because her dog's now tripod.
Herbert West grabs the dog.
Yeah.
Which
Runs
obviously
downstairs.
did. Yeah.
And they stick the arm that they severed off of the lieutenant, which is this big, fat arm, in place of the dog.
We find that out because Francesca leaves and comes back, and Jeffrey's right there, like, get her out of here. She's hysterical. And she looks down and her dog's here. Oh, look, you are okay. She goes to reach for it, and it reaches for her with the man's hand.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious.
So now
And sorry, can we just point out that like it's not even like they've strapped anything onto the dog or using a dog puppet. Like you can see that there's somebody underneath the dog reaching out their arm. I like that.
Nice touch.
So yeah, now she's in on it all. She knows what's going on. This is basically when she tells pretty boy Dan how sick he is, and you're disgusting. I hate you. And he's going through the whole. But Meg's heart, and then they have another one of those speeches where he has to convince Dan to stick it out.
Yeah,
And
so
they start assembling the body out of
all these different.
all these different
body
parts,
they
yeah.
stole from the hospital.
Some
Meg's
which are weeks
heart.
old.
And they're going to use Meg's heart.
And the other girls.
Well, they got the dancers, the ballet dancers' feet. They
Yeah.
got
The prostitute's
the
leg.
prostitute's leg.
Which is a creepy scene.
And what did he say?
The womb of a virgin.
But he said, just imagine how many warm bodies these legs been wrapped around.
Yeah. This is probably.
How's that a feature?
Yeah, Jeffrey was full blown Jeffrey.
Yeah.
This is a super creepy speech, probably the creepiest one.
Yeah, he talks about like the womb of a virgin who never sampled the pleasures of life or something.
Something super crazy because there's all this crazy stitching, but right over her vagina is a zipper.
Yeah.
A done-up zipper,
that's
which is a nice touch.
Oof.
Some nice breasts, and then I can't remember who the hands are from a sculptor or something. Is that right?
Well, I think we're still ahead of ourselves on that particular scene.
Oh, okay.
Because right after they reanimate the dog, then the lieutenant escaped. His one arm, like he got out with the dog.
He goes
like,
back to the morgue.
goes back to the morgue, attaches the head that was in the garbage to now he's holding it. He's just holding
Yeah.
it, and he goes in and now he's attacking
he's
Graves.
the head's minion.
Yeah.
Or-
Basically.
So
Master Blaster.
that's
So
when
they
Graves is like, oh shit, and then
They force Graves
to do some work for them.
Yeah, which you'll find out about.
in
in
later.
another half an hour.
Oh god.
So yeah, and then I think after that whole spiel, that's when they go back and they start talking about what we discussed, the body, whatnot. They're gonna reanimate it. Oh god, there's like flashes of Jane. It's like, there's Jane.
Yeah,
that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, just that the baby distracted us, and then plus we were a little inebriated, so the paying attention was hard. But I don't remember the next sequence of events that gets us to. We're getting pretty close to the showdown, the final showdown.
Well, yeah, I think by this point, Herbert West tells Dan to forget about Francesca and stuff and just like, let's put Meg's heart into this body we've been putting together.
Yeah.
And they start putting the reanimating
The Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah, they were like
they're doing circulatory
they
system.
laid that mesh dipped in the goo over top of all of the connector
the sort of fake skin
spots.
that they're going to use to
Yeah,
connect
there's
everything.
a lot of open skin.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
Dan's like, well, they go to inject this large syringe full of
Gravy gravy.
Gravy gravy. There you go. And that's when Dan's like, let me do it. It's like, okay, whatever, Mr.
Finally
Morals.
steps up
I
to
was
the
like,
plate, yeah.
fuck's sake.
Owns it.
So he does.
Can you just own it for once, Dan?
Gives her the shot, and then, of course, she comes back to life, and they're all reveling in it. But doesn't a bunch of shit now happen in this room? Like, I remember, like, Francesca comes back down, to try and talk sense into Dan again, but sees his
Bride lady.
Yeah.
Gloria. I don't know. I don't remember. There's a crazy sequence of events that most of it is taking place in this basement, and I don't remember any of it.
Well, eventually, while they're gawking over, and then the two ladies have a bit of a cat fight over Dan.
Yes, because everyone wants Dan's rock hard He-Man abs.
Yeah, and while they're doing
yes,
that,
abs.
Jeffrey went and like ran and dipped into that hole in the wall or something, and then came back and mortared it back up.
Well, first they hint towards
There's rats in the wall or something.
because they're in the main floor of the house, and that's when the lieutenant shows up with the head. There's some shooting and stuff, and you don't really see what's up with the head.
Yeah.
So they go back downstairs.
Yeah.
And that's when they get into the
Graves.
the wall.
They definitely open it up, and the head comes in with none other than it's like Batwing head flying around.
No, wait! I can't gloss over this. This is the fucking best. So that previously very graphically they cut off its bat wings. They got Graves to graft those onto Carl's Dr. Hill's head, and now he's flying around with these bat wings. It's pretty fucking awesome. And he's just going, rah!
Yeah, that's all he can do. He's really quite useless in battle.
There's just Re-Animator chaos going. There's the two ladies fighting. One of them is a stitched up monster.
Yeah.
And then we have the lieutenant who's telling everyone he's police. And he's all going.
Yeah, he just breaks in, freeze police. That's right.
Yeah.
And then all the...
Well, then Jeffrey goes and like kicks the wall. He's hanging off the pipes, and he breaks open the wall, and all of his minions he's been creating.
Also, all of these crazy creatures that he's been making are now coming at him.
Okay, so here's an idea, though. All right, so I just need to think about this. So he's been throwing them behind the wall and breaking it up, right?
Yeah.
Is he like breaking down that wall and mortaring it
Every
every
time.
single day?
Yeah.
Like, how many days have passed here? And like, how are these? If they're just breaking through now, how have they not broken through before? Just pointing that out. Just pointing that out.
And at one point, Jeffrey did yell at them, like, if you just be quiet in there. It's like, that's all you have to do. They listen to
yeah, they make a H.P. Lovecraft reference. What is that, rats on the wall? They're like, yeah, must be rats.
Yeah.
Rats on the Wall was a famous Lovecraft story.
Okay.
I believe it's the one that has a little bit of racism in it.
Oh, the one.
Yeah, there's only a couple
story.
that have pretty insane ones. I believe that's the one where the cat's name is...
Don't need to say it probably.
Yes. But anyways, so what happens
What's
in
the
this?
cat's name?
So we're in the middle of a big royal
I'll tell you
Re-Animator
afterwards.
rumble.
Yes, all the shit. So all these creatures are pouring out. You got Bride of Frankenstein. There's all this fire. Everything's getting trashed. Jeffrey, what happens? Oh, because they're underground, the roof starts falling. And our man Jeffrey gets buried under the rubble. And we hear...
He gets dragged into the wall, though, right?
Does he? By those guys?
He does. They drag him into the wall by his
It all
creation.
crumbles down, and him and the flying bat head and everything
Is crushed on, but it's still
Meanwhile, what's his face? David Gale manages to crawl his way out of this.
Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dan, Chesticles.
Yeah, they
And
crawl
we're
out.
getting pretty close to the end, but fuck if I can remember what happens.
Well, his bride obviously doesn't survive.
But Italian lady does, right?
Yeah.
Do we mention the part that she rips out her heart?
Yeah, that's right.
Because
What do you want from me?
She starts to kind of freak out.
Yeah,
I mean, everything's freaking out, but it's actually tissue rejection we learn.
Yes.
Right, but she's
So her head starts... Well, yeah.
Like she holds out her
pulls
heart.
her
Is this
heart
what you want? Because she's making advantages. She's making advances on Dr. Dan, and he's like, "You're gross. That's fair."
I don't want your body. I just wanted your heart.
Yeah, you're not Meg. And then she's confused by this because she has feelings for him, and also she does appear to be in some pain, just maybe with all that exposed skin and muscle. And
none of it's hers, so it doesn't
but the deepest pain is being rejected by him.
God.
So
it hurts even more. I know.
She reaches into her heart or her chest, which is already kind of open, and pulls out the heart and is like holding it out to him. And her other hand falls off, and everything's going down all at once. It's a clusterfuck.
It's pretty fucking awesome.
But she gets up on the table as she's like holding this heart out, and her head tips backwards, and I guess it's
Her whole spine just peeled
yeah,
out.
like I'm trying to describe it, but it's like a wet noodle slowly bending backwards out of her back, this head with spine peeling backwards, and that's great because Jeffrey then calls out tissue rejection. Make a note.
Yeah, he's like, Dan, please, are you making notes of this?
Yeah,
Tissue rejection.
shit is going down.
Ever the scientist.
And he's getting pulled into a wall, and he's like, make a note of the tissue rejection.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
It's so great. Hi, Shandy, how's it going?
Good.
Joining us a little bit of
Shandy's been watching La Baby. She is the responsible adult when we do this.
Yeah, welcome to the table. So we're just at the end. Wonderful.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how we felt about it.
So the bride is dead. Everything crumbles. Dan makes it out.
We don't
with
see him
Francesca.
die, but Jeffrey's buried in Rumble, leaving that open for a sequel.
And then he goes back to just being Dr. Dan. I don't remember.
Oh, Shandy's leaving again. God damn that.
Distract the baby.
Oh, Shandy.
Bye. Jane says bye.
Come back for the recommendations if you can. Yeah. So we're done. No, we're not done.
We're not done. We're almost. We're so close. So close, guys. Keep it together. Keep it together.
It does show the doctor he's not dead.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, the head.
Bad head?
Yeah, it shows the bad head kind of in the rubble.
Still there.
And he's smiling maniacally.
And God damn it, how did Graves die? Did Graves die?
I don't think Graves does die, does he?
He's one of the critters.
Yeah, no, it's like
what happens.
He becomes one of the creatures, isn't he? We kind of glossed over.
No, I don't care. I think we can call it.
Yeah, pretty much everyone dies.
Yeah.
Except for
Dan Chesticles.
Well, I
Dan
thought
Chesticles and Francesca.
I thought Dr. West died in the first one. Didn't he get dragged off into the smoky mist of all that shit? Or was that a different
Well, you
movie?
know there is a Beyond Re-Animator, so you can...
He did, didn't he?
I swear he died in that one too. Yeah, because like the big abomination was out.
Yeah, and they pulled
That's
him
from
in.
Beyond.
That was From Beyond? Oh.
But did they make it to a hospital in From Beyond?
I don't.
No.
Yes, they do because he steals an ambulance. Remember? And he's got the third eye crystal penis.
Right. See, and they all
This
kind
is
of
a
like
different
they
movie.
bleed together too because that actor was in that one too, wasn't he? Yeah. So it starts to get kind
Same
of
director.
confusing. You got Crampton.
Well, anyways, I'm gonna call it. That's the end of the come over. We
we're
did
done.
it.
We're done. Yay!
So our ratings have been a clusterfuck before. We didn't really know what we were doing all these crazy ratings, giving no real consistency. So I've just come up with a really simple one we can use for rating stuff now. Very simple. 1, hated it. 2, didn't like it. 3, liked it. 4, really liked it. And 5, loved it. So generally, I think I'll go forward. I think, other than the drag, I think I would give this a 4, but I'd give this a liked it. Give it a 3. I like this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. It was gory. Like I said, it drags a bit, but Jeffrey's really awesome in it. The direction's pretty good. Oh, and we'll talk about it later, but there's some crazy differences in film we can talk about that happens in this in the goof and trivia. But yeah, 3. Liked it, leaning towards a 4. Really liked it. Funny.
Yeah, liked it, leaning towards a 4. It loses points for just some of the confusion. Too many little scene switches back and forth. Kind of a bit clusterfucky. But generally I liked it. Again, we watch a lot of shit though. So my bar is set pretty low. So a lot of other things come up pretty high. I think the general population would probably give this more of a 2.
You think so? Yeah.
Have you checked the ratings?
I don't know.
Right on Netflix, it's like 5 stars.
Yeah, totally.
Out of 10?
Out of 5.
Yeah,
you know, because like people that are like cult, will like watch it and rate it.
And this gets a 6 on IMDb, which is high for IMDb. Like really good movies like Von Ryan's Express get a 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's it is definitely a cult film. These 3 really get a lot of play.
Yeah.
Jake.
I'm gonna go with the flow on this one. I'm on a 3.5 as well.
Oh, no half measures.
And, well, 3 leaning to 4.
There we go. I like that ambiguity.
I love the makeup effects and stuff that they did for like even the little robots or whatever they did. When they used the bat,
where they had skinned bodies. That was really cool.
And for the most part, I was even able to suspend my disbelief to the point of what they were trying to push. You know, like a head with a bat or a head that can talk, even things like that. Like, fine, I can let all that go, even though. But there was some real confusion in trying to follow, like, well, how did they get there? There was a lot of cop-out moments in the script where it's just like, well, we need this to happen, so whatever. We don't want to explain how. It just did. It just did, people. Just there it is now. This is what's happening now. Okay, no. Now this. They just kind of had a couple moments where they jumped. Didn't really explain why or how, or not very well anyway. But as far as how silly and awesome all of the scenes of these, it was great. It was. They brought back the rave juice. What can I say? And the very final scene when everything was culminating, they still kept the quirky with like, take note of that.
Take note of that.
And you
knew what it was.
It was great. It all actually, even though it was chaotic in the end scene, it all fit together well to be entertaining to watch. Like, oh my god, look at that! Oh shit!
You're right. Yeah.
You can keep moving forward. So 3, leaning to 4.
Hey Shan, you want to come give a rating?
3.
She gives it a 3 for the distance. Liked it. Ian.
I would have to say 4, leaning to 5.
Yeah, I know this is one of your favorites.
In lieu of 4.5.
Yeah.
And only on account of it gets confusing, but I feel like the whole movie's just a build up to like the extravagant like shit that happens at the end. It's like everything happens. So it gets to the point where it's like the story doesn't matter as much, and I'm just getting off on like watching this ridiculously executed, wrapping of a story.
I agree. That end scene is worth the wait. Yeah.
Right, but there's things that like bother me, like the change in like look of the film grain, and like just like a lot of little details that could be done better with the need of more budget.
Do you think that would have been intentional for them to? Because they seem to only do it when like there was a bloody mess, right?
It seems like they might have. Well, as I was saying while watching it, I would theorize that they only had so much budget to like process film or whatever, so they spared those because it's like the scenes with intensity. So like if it looks grainier and more rugged, it could contribute to
and save us money.
What kind of reminded me of was this is also kind of somewhat of a retelling of the Bride of Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
So in those moments of like kind of bloody chaos, more towards the end, involving the reanimated individuals, kind of gave it that like acid wash color of like a exploitation film or
a little grindhousey.
A little grindhousey. So,
but it was really jarring, so I don't think it would have been their first choice. Like, I think what maybe Ian's saying, it must have been a necessity because of budgets or something happened to the film.
But they used it, that lack of budget is, like, I feel like they used it purposefully.
It's not in all the scenes yet, but it is weird. And once Ian pointed it out, I noticed that.
If we do that, we can have a bat.
Yeah.
There's a guy selling this bat.
The bat guys.
Look, if we cut it here, we can go get this bat. It's only on eBay. I can buy it now.
eBay.
We didn't have eBay, Jake.
On AOL.com. You got a disc, you got 20 minutes. Yeah. It's going to be sweet.
Okay, nobody used the phone.
Okay, so we can move on to our next section, I think, which is how Jeffrey is Jeffrey. So what we do for this, Ian, is generally we know Jeffrey is known as a B actor, known for sort of hamming it up, mouth acting the shit out of it. You got a lot of roles. So how Jeffrey is Jeffrey? A big maximum Jeffrey, I think, would be The Frighteners. He's full on giving her. Maybe his first couple of films we watched, like Frightmare and what have you, or Cyclone, he's pretty subdued. So in general, how Jeffrey is Jeffrey in this, you think, Ian?
I think he's at like 95% Jeffrey.
Yeah.
There's like some.
Why is that?
The delivery, a lot of like, monologue, like the weirdest pep talks that he gives to them,
so
it's the delivery of the pep
bordering
talks.
on all these things that are wrong even for a fantasy.
If you were Jeffrey, I would never have fallen for that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're getting pretty close to maximum Jeff.
Yeah.
I love this rating, by the way. It's one of my favorite parts. Yeah. Jake?
I'm going to go 90%.
90%.
I've seen a couple of shots in past movies. I'm sorry they escaped. They all meld together. But just where the mouth has. But this one, his facial expression still can bring me to believe these atrocious speeches that he's like, that's not in it. But like, he can bring just that sense of madness to it. Like he really believes believes in this.
Yeah.
I want to help him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to agree with Ian. Like 95%, he's almost got full-blown Jeffrey.
It sounds like a disease. Oh, he's got full-blown Jeffrey.
Like, he does the mad scientist really well. And again, if kind of Frighteners is that sort of pinnacle of, like, full-tilt Jeffrey.
I think we all agree, unless we find something else we watch. Yeah.
There's a couple scenes where he kind of spits vitriol at Francesca. That kind of like, get her out of here, like this sort of women hating starts to creep in.
He's very gleeful in his role. Like, it's great. He's really, I agree, like we're almost at peak,
maximum Jeffrey.
Peak Jeffrey.
But it's great. I mean, like that's why we do this. I mean, you're the one that loves him, right? And then through watching these films, I've definitely developed an appreciation for him, and I'm starting to become quite fond of him as an actor. And so, like, what makes him so great, in my opinion, is it's that mouth acting. Is
when he's going for it.
When he's going for it, like it's gleeful.
I have fun when Jeffrey Combs is having fun.
Like, I'm just taking a guess that, like, obviously, I would say most actors probably enjoy their jobs, but some more than others, right? And I feel like if we were there on set, he would just be like having a ball. Yeah.
So there's not much trivia other than the Rats on the Wall reference, being H.P. Lovecraft. But the girl who played Gloria, who was the sick girl, she was in a sort of like a exploitation movie called Fraternity Vacation, where they do a famous nude scene with Barbara Crampton, who was from the first Re-Animator.
There we go.
Yeah. So I think I might have to watch that for research, because we get to see her breasticles. Let me see here.
If only there was some other place where you could easily access pictures of boobs.
You're totally right. They did use a reverse shot. There is one point where you can see Dr. Graves' name tag is reversed. Embroidery has been reversed because they just reversed the shot when he was looking at it. So.
It talks about it?
Yeah, it talks about it on the goof. So clever eye, sir.
Good job.
Clever
Good
eye.
job.
Well, yeah, there wasn't any sort of weird questions that I could find.
No animals died?
No animals died. That was Beastmaster.
No bats were painted
Does this
black.
ruin the first film? No. I think this is great.
No.
Yeah.
And it can even be watched
I think it's better than the first film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've learned nothing. They've learned absolutely nothing, especially like Dan, Dr. Dano. Like, he was the dissenter in the first one. All this horrible stuff happens, and he's still bitching about that we shouldn't be doing this.
Well, the moment that they found the cat in the fridge, you know, that's when, all right, Dan, you're going to stick around?
Yeah.
All right,
Get throughout. Like, you can't get better.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. All right. That's great. I think we'll move on to recommendations. So this is maybe recommendations on theme, like we talked about this, or just something you've seen recently, or not recently. Who fucking cares? Ian, do you have a recommendation of a movie that you've seen recently? TV show, anything? I know you're a guest, so you weren't really prepared.
Can I go
later? You can go later?
Jeez, I'm all I can do is give you a not recommendation.
That's what I was gonna do.
We got a couple not recommendations.
Oh my God.
I'll recommend a course. I think you both are gonna not recommend which movie.
The same one, yeah.
Which one?
Shandy, help me out with the name.
Left Behind.
Oh,
Don't
God.
read the book.
Oh, you watch it?
Don't watch
No.
the movie.
So the
You
new-
downloaded it last
I
night
never
without
heard of
I
it.
knew what it was. I
realizing.
accidentally bought one of the Left Behind books once.
I read them when I was a kid.
Of course you did. I thought it was like, well, I got it because it was post-apocalyptic, or what it sounded
That's
like.
what I was like.
Why
Oh,
did-
it sounded like, this sounds like a cool sci-fi movie.
Oh.
So you watched the new one with Nicolas Cage.
Oh God.
It's the reboot of the ones that used to star Kirk Cameron.
Yeah. Why shouldn't we watch it, Jake?
It's the most religious, dogmatic, bullshit, fucking dry, bland, awful acting. Of course, it's got Nick fucking Cage. I should have known.
You're not a fan, sir?
That was your
Oh
first
my
mistake.
God, I can't stand that guy. It's
Nick
usually
Cage has done some brilliant stuff, though.
Those days are long.
he fell into it. He tripped.
I
He did not.
was he doing this?
He tripped. That was an accident that he did. Seriously, I cannot stand the guy. I thought I'd get into Nick Cage because I love sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, or when they even do anything on the Rapture and
I'm
things like.
surprised you never heard about that.
No, never.
Wow.
I did not know about the left.
You of all people.
Yeah. That's
I was
crazy.
that sheltered.
No, you not only you found the message
Oh God,
ridiculous, but you didn't like the way the film was made either.
No, it was
No redeeming qualities.
It was like take a crappy made-for-TV movie,
Right.
On the Christian network.
and add a bunch of religious shit to it. Remove all of the salt that makes the movie nice and
all the
tasty,
umami flavor.
and just fucking basically
Movie salt,
rub it
I
in
love it.
shit, and then you're kind of getting how bad this movie was.
Wow.
Is it?
Yeah,
Do you think it'd be insulting to even people who share the movie's values or message? Is it that kind of bad?
Nah, they'd probably like it.
No, it's like a movie you would get out of the library at your local church. Yeah.
It's that kind of quality.
Yeah.
All of the main characters are non-religious, so they'll identify with the audience that we're trying to show this to. And they're constantly, every argument in the movie is a biblical argument about God. It's
Right.
like, as a sinner, I wander around my life. I don't have these big, deep God arguments with randoms on the SkyTrain and in my job. And things. It's just not the way reality is. It's all augmented. It's like watching an overextended episode of Seventh Heaven.
I've seen these before. Like they set up a bunch of straw man arguments, and then they just knock them down.
And they are like arguing with themselves in some of the points. They're
Was
like,
there child molestation then in this
Preaching
one?
to the choir.
pretty sure it happened behind the scenes. But yeah.
Oh my god!
Anyway, moving on to actual recommendations.
So that was my non-recommendation.
So that's something we will never recommend to everyone because of potential abuse of children. But is there anything else you could recommend? No, Jake.
No,
I don't give a fuck about this. We get some, we don't. Who cares? Bunny.
I feel like there was something else we watched. I kind of briefly looked at our list, but I thought a fun movie, not necessarily a good movie, but a fun movie was The Anarchy Purge.
Oh, Anarchy. The Purge. Anarchy.
Or The Purge Anarchy. Mostly because I actually found it better than the first one.
Oh, yeah.
The first one just made me angry.
First one is really terrible.
And I like this one because I like it for world building. We get to see more of what happens during the Purge to poor people. There's a little bit of politics involved. A little heavy-handed. No, just straight up heavy-handed. But one of those questions like, why are people fighting back? Like, and we actually see that it's the government. Kind of, the government wants the Purge to continue because the rich get richer. Yeah.
It's a good like sick movie. Like if you're sick with the flu, it's a good one of those movies to watch.
Really, the last thing I want to do is like think.
No, you will not be thinking.
Yeah, you're not thinking.
Yeah,
they do the thinking for you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like Bunny said, it's kind of heavy-handed, but I quite enjoyed myself when we watched it.
Yeah, and especially compared to the first one.
Yeah. But it's nothing you haven't seen before. Like Bunny, with eerie accuracy, predicted a couple things that would happen in this movie.
Yeah.
So it's pretty by the numbers, but whatever. You don't always need to see something amazing. You don't always want free jazz. Sometimes you just want to rock something.
It's a popcorn movie for popcorn.
Yeah.
You know, it's having some
I
popcorn.
hate that phrase, popcorn.
I know you do. Right, what would you watch, Jamie?
Oh, I would say
Would
we
you
just
recommend?
watched a couple nights ago the original Manchurian Candidate.
Yes.
1962?
Good.
64? I don't know, it's a Frankenheimer film. Sinatra, Angela Lansbury's in it, Janet Leigh, Henry Silva as a uncomfortably racist Chinese caricature. He, I think, is Latino or something. I'm not sure where Silva, maybe that's Italian, but he's definitely not Chinese and he's playing that Chinese character.
Yeah. Kind of classic for that era.
They didn't mean to be racist, but holy fuck, it's racist.
Yeah.
But it is a great movie. Really tense, well shot, fantastic cinematography. I cannot recommend that movie enough. The remake can go fuck itself.
And you pointed out to me, fans of the Venture Brothers, the astronaut and or general and his mother character.
The astronaut, I think it's from season 3. Or
Yeah,
season 4,
is based around.
He basically is a Manchurian candidate.
He's the Manchurian candidate. and-
His key phrase is listen to your mother.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I quite enjoyed it. Ian, come back to you. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, I've only been watching nature documentaries lately.
Oh,
That's okay.
yeah.
That's okay.
So I
That's
was-
refreshing.
Yeah.
It's on the
So I would
sides.
always say learn some stuff about animals because they're pretty nice. But the other day I went to see a pre-screening of that Whiplash movie about the jazz drummer student that it's got the guy, you know, in Oz, the head of the Nazis.
Not W.C. Gainey.
Yeah, it's like a letter.
Yeah.
name.
I know the guy you're talking about. He was in Juno. He's a bald actor.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a way to look
He's
it up.
the editor-in-chief in Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like this movie about this dude that's in the best music school in the States, and this like ensemble director, you know, gets him in his jazz ensemble and stuff, and like pushes him really hard, and he's kind of a dick, blah blah. but like the music is great in it and stuff, but all the drumming is off. It's like a bad music video where like what you see him do is not what you're hearing. So it's a movie focused on drums, about a drummer, not for drummers. Because I went with my drummer friend from school.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
The whole movie we're looking at each other like, are you fucking kidding? Like
Like it's like bad dubbing, basically. Is
Yeah,
what you're
exactly.
saying.
Exactly.
Ruined the experience.
That seems.
So,
I cannot
you know-
believe that happened in a movie focused on that particular
Exactly,
instrument.
and this is like an Oscar contender apparently. Like it's been getting great reviews and all that, and it's
Because
just
people
like,
don't have the ear for it, like an actual
Exactly,
drummer does.
right? So it's
yeah.
like, you know, it's a drummer movie for everyone but drummers.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you liked it,
it's
but
just
that
a commentary on
totally
it.
took
like,
you out of it, though?
Don't,
Yeah, but
like,
still would recommend
wait
it.
till it goes on like TBS. And
Yeah,
Sunday.
Yeah. It'll
It's
hit.
gonna be a while.
Yeah,
J.K. Simmons was the name of that.
yeah, that's the dude.
J.K. Simmons. Yeah.
JK.
I loved it in Lady
And then
Killers.
in relation to
Yeah.
Bride of
IBS.
Re-Animator, watching it always reminds me a lot of Peter Jackson's Dead Alive.
Yeah.
You know, the unapologetic campiness and, you know, overindulgence and like ridiculous themes and the constant build up and how does it get worse but more ridiculous at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
So
This does have a
Well,
lot of that Peter Jackson excess that
yeah,
sort of
and
builds
it's like
off.
the same era, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I'm
Lots of
fond
blood
of
splurting, like
Yeah.
when Dr. Dan was trying to save the makeup patient, and
The
then
makeup
she's
patient.
wearing the makeup.
Gloria.
Gloria, and that blood, like
Yeah.
there's like a hose in her chest, just squirts. It's like he was at a Guar concert, right in the face.
she's Volvatron.
Volvatron.
Yes,
the
Volvatron.
new- yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Dead Alive. It's also called, I think, Brain Dead sometimes.
Yeah, that was I think it was the UK release or something.
Yeah. So check that out definitely if you
Yeah.
haven't already. Can
I own
recommend
it
that
as
movie.
Dead Alive.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, always with that in the cover, someone pulling their mouth open and there's a zombie
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something inside. That's great. All right, do you guys have anything else to add to the movie, to the potting of the cast?
No.
I believe we're done. Well, I guess that just leaves for us to say, my name is Jamie, my voice sounds like this.
Funny, my voice sounds like this.
Jake, my voice is like this.
Ian and my voice sounded like that.
You can reach us at finetoothpodcast@gmail.com.